All right, this is the SE Kosmos finals between Delial and Turdz. On game one, sorry for the ugly graphics. They're currently playing a closed game now, but I thought we'd check out their open game briefly while they're doing so. I just put it in the solver because I was asked to, so may as well use that work. Deli started in 9, and Turdz played this adjacent corner in 3. Deli here was deciding between. Wait up. Yeah, Deli here was deciding between blocking 6 or going in 5 with potential setups. You'll notice this move in 5 sets up a nice plus in 2 with 439A and a plus in 8. And this move's actually really interesting. He didn't end up playing it, but the obvious move to play in 6 is to take the same, get rid of a card that has very little power facing the action. It's actually losing after 2. This is a winning position for Deli. For instance, if you go here, 3-7-A6 is actually can be comboed both ways. Now we probably have to figure out the right way to do it, but it looks to me like this should be good enough for the win. Yeah, that must be it. I haven't actually checked the line, so we're just figuring it out now. But a really creative idea he didn't end up going for. There are a number of ways to tie this position. Surprisingly, 3 out of 4 cards tie in 7, which is not a square most players look at early. The square you naturally look at is, of course, 6. Only 1 card ties there. I'm going to pause a sec, so if you want to try to figure out which card is the tie in 6, you can make your bet. And if you don't want to put much effort into it, just pick one so you can like celebrate if you get it right or feel deep shame if you get it wrong. All right, the tying card in 6 is 29A3. Who saw that coming? Not me. All right. So an interesting idea all in all, and if you found 29A3 and 6, congratulations. All right, Deli ends up blocking 6. Turdz plays in 2, going for a pretty standard L, where he has a threat in 5 and a recapture in 1. Deli blocks 5. Turdz maybe has to be a little careful here, because 49A4 can end up as a sweeper, but he goes 8, and we get a pretty comfortable tie. So that's game 1. No mistakes made in any sense. And just wanted to give quick coverage to that because I've given no coverage to SE Kosmos, primarily because it's been closed, and I wanted to take a peek. So now if we head over to the current game, let's not flip you over to Football Manager. Yep, we did it. This is game 3. They have tied 1 closed game. I didn't really see it. It looked like they went for, I think it was a Q. Where I saw the cards and what was played next makes me think it came out of a Q, but I could easily be wrong. One of those Qs where 6 and 8 are these paired squares, and someone plays an 8 with the idea that if the opponent plays 7, they have 6, and instead the opponent blocks 6 in ways that basically forced a tie unless you have absolutely terrible cards left, and in this case it did force a tie. So the current score is 0-0. I believe this is best of 3s. Should be best of 3s. I'm not completely making stuff up. This is game 3. This is the second closed game. We see a starter in 5. I wonder if this card... So when you're watching a closed game, right, there's often like not that much to think about because you just don't have that much information. And what I find is something I tend to do is I tend to start reading way too much into things. And I think that's the only way to have much fun watching closed. I don't know if you learn much, but it can be fun. Which is, why would you dump your A7, 4, 4, and 5? I think this is a fairly powerful level 9 card. It has an A on it. So what I'm thinking is the main reason to do this is, for instance, if you're going to drop a card in 5, lots of people would look to drop a card that, for instance, doesn't have an A on it, right? Something a little lower in raw power. I think the main reason to do so is you have another corner for 7. Now, if that's the case, you kind of have 2 standard things to do. You can drop one of them in 5 or drop one of them in 3 as a weak corner. Why would he pick 5 over 3, right? Well, I think that means he has 2 corners for 7, but not more, right? If he had 3 or 4 corners for 7, I think there's a good chance he would have played the card in 3 and just had a lot of power facing the action. He did not do that here. So I would guess him to have a somewhat balanced hand, and to have at least one plus wall on the A facing up, or maybe on the 7 facing to the right. And Turdz blocks the A facing up. And one other thing I like about this move, again, as we read too much into the moves being made, one thing that appeals to me on this move is it does not put out the same numbers that Deli put out. You especially find this when facing pretty new players, but I've played games where, like, say I played Deli starter in 5, and they go in 6 with an A facing up. It is very likely I can plus wall that A facing up, because if I played in 5 with an A facing up, there is a well above average chance that I can plus wall that, and now I have another card my card can work against, so suddenly my card is good in 2 squares, and that's really dangerous, right? You really don't want your opponent to start having cards that hit hard in multiple squares. So I think in general, when you play a move like this, one of these play a side response to a center starter, having different things facing out has value. The other thing going on here, it's been a while since I've talked about closed. Apologies if this all feels either very basic or very abstract. But another thing I think here is I tend to like meeting center starters with corner starters. So I'm by no means in closed. Also in open, but especially in closed. So I'm by no means an expert on this. But I think there are kind of a few core differences. One is if you go in a corner, say he had gone in 1 instead of 2, your opponent is likely, not always, but likely, going to go in 6, 8, or 9. And so you can only get a J, because like if you think 2, 5, 7, that looks like a J, and any rotated version is kind of a J. So 1, 5, 8, say, is a J, or you get a slash, 1, 5, 9, right? If you play in a side, you are likely to get either a line or a J, right? 7 or 9 gives a J, 8 gives a slash, a line. So they both lead to J's pretty regularly, but one allows the slash and one allows the line, and which one you like defending more on second turn is very indicative of which one you're going to end up playing. Now, I much prefer personally defending Qs to defending Ts. And there are a couple other things. So I like to play corners because I would rather defend against the slash than defend against the line. But if you have better results or you think the line is just better to defend against, you should play a lot more side responses to center starters, right? A really huge difference between them is, do you want to defend lines or do you want to defend slashes? Now, actually, not that many people play lines. People tend to play in 7 or 9 here. So it's really, do you want to play extra Js or do you want to play slashes? I like defending the slash, but I think most people like defending the J more. And this is a big reason. Here we get the line. This is a thing about Deli. Deli goes for the line more than some players, more than a lot of players, and I think that is a very strong trait he has. As I said, I really don't like defending the line. I feel very uncomfortable here. We also saw that I was correct, and Deli played that starter in 5 because he did have a more powerful card for the same corner. You can make predictions based on this. The stronger the opponent is, the more you should be committed to making such predictions, right? The better your opponent is, the more likely it is that they're doing something that makes logical sense that you will be able to read. It's not that weaker opponents are necessarily super illogical, but their logic is much less consistent. And so one train of thought they have one game might be very different than they do another, while better players tend to have more consistent evaluation thinking. So nice to see that we didn't predict the exact card. And if you don't predict the exact card, how useful is it? I don't know. But nice to predict this. We also see Deli has put 2 4s out to the left. Makes me wonder if he has play on that. The other thing I wanted to say about side responses to center starters. So one big thing about them is which setups do you want to allow and which setups do you want to deny? Do you like playing slashes? Do you like playing lines? Do you want to play more or fewer Js? They both allow what should be about the same number of Js, but playing sides definitely gets you a higher rate of Js, in my experience. A second reason to play in the side over the corner is if you really want your hand to be up, down, or side to side, you can force that, right? If you want it to be up, down, you play above or below their card, and as we can see in this game, a lot of the interactions future cards are going to have is going to be facing up, down into each other, right? The empty space is all up, down. And similarly, if you want the game to be side to side, you can play in 4 or 6. The other interesting thing, though, is what number do you have facing towards the card in 5? One thing you could do is you could overpower the card. And this is very common if you look at newer players, because newer players understand fewer reasons to do things, which means capturing something, which is an obvious reason to do something, really moves up in why they make moves, right? You will see new players meet center starters with sides much more frequently and often capturing. And this is really dangerous because it gives your opponent a lot of combo potential through it. Now, what better players tend to do is play weak to 5. So Turdz' move is weak to 5, right? And this is saying combo chains go through 5, but I will not flip 5 until I am ready to do work with it. And we can see in this game there is a potential combo chain. 5 could go through 2, but it could also go 8, 5, 2. And Turdz will have control over when that happens, right? No combo chain can work there until Turdz gives his go-ahead by capturing something. On the other hand, with those 4s facing out, Turdz may have to touch it at a time he doesn't want to, but it will start flipping depending on Turdz' moves, not on Deli's moves. The last thing here, and this is, I think, really common in especially high-level trade at the start of the return, which was when I was paying the most attention to closed. If there have been kind of advances in closed play since then, I just wouldn't know. But the most common thing I think good players do is simply match the number facing out, which kind of just gets rid of combo chain potential. And combo chain potential here, Turdz controls when it happens, but Deli has last turn, right? So there is an argument that both players have some combo potential gear advantage. And yeah, that's going to be tricky. Again, you'll notice Turdz, each time he puts out an out-facing thing, it's something a little different. But here, I think there's actually a very good chance Deli has 1. That Deli has plus walls in 1. Because Deli did put an A facing up on his own. Now, that's not an amazing chance, but it's a decently high chance. But yeah, my point was, I think if you don't really know what to do against a center starter, a very good default move. Deli plays quickly here. And we can also see from the cards Deli has played, I thought because he played 5, we could assume he had a relatively balanced hand after. Like if he had another like corner for 7, or he had no corners for 3 and a lot of, 2 corners for 7 and a couple corners for 9 or 1, I think he'd be kind of unlikely to go 5 because the hand would feel so unbalanced after that. And you'd rather drop something in 3 where everything in your hand faces it. But what we've seen instead is Deli play a corner card for 3 and a corner card for 7, right? We have seen balance after his starter. He got rid of an extraneous card, and the rest of his hand makes sense. I think there's a good chance Deli has a threat in 1. There's a good chance he didn't have 3, but there's a somewhat better chance he has it now because he was able to play 6 and set it up. On the other hand, Turdz controls 7 and 9, or will have access to when combo through them happens, which can be quite dangerous for Deli. But I think this has got to be quite favoring Deli. I really don't like these plus positions, like this. The pieces on the cards on the board make a plus shape. I don't like these plus positions for second turn. If you compare it to an X, I think you can do more useful sliding, and it's pretty hard to slide here. Like, it's hard to say, okay, maybe you can do it in 3, but like, yeah, it doesn't work out in ways I think are as useful. I don't like defending pluses. I think Deli has very good chance of winning this game, but I also might, just because I don't like defending something, I might overrate the danger to it. And Turdz is certainly a better close player than I am. Turdz says he was worried Deli would play in 6 fast, right? If Deli plays in 6 slowly, then Deli's working out what makes his cards click well. If Deli plays in 6 fast, he very likely has cards that play really well here. And that makes this a very tough and dangerous decision. It is hard to find things to talk about during a close game. Hopefully my extended talk about meeting center starters with sides was at least vaguely interesting. I would say in general, you can flip the card in 5, but you only want to do it by like matching, right? So like against the side with the 7, you could play, a 7/4 plus wall, or against the side with the 4, you could play a 4/10 same wall. I'm not sure why you would do that, because it seems to me if you have a way to combo that well off the center card, it doesn't seem natural to me to get rid of that combo potential just to get the benefit of playing a card next to 5 that matches theirs. And I don't think it matters flipping the card in 5 that early. Like, I don't know why you'd want to. It gives your opponent a little more ability to work around with combos. It gives you a little less. And it's not like being up 6/4 with 2 cards in the open, like not something about to be locked in, is a real advantage. So I think in general, I would prefer sides that do not flip 5. I would rather match and fail to flip than match and succeed in flipping. Match meaning have the same number facing 5 as faces out. I think there's an argument for being weak to 5 and being strong to 5. Being weak to 5 or being neutral to 5, which is effectively strong to 5 because it can't flip you in a combo chain. And I think I've ended up biased. I think I have a preference, and again, I don't know how much this is worth. I would rather match than be weak to, but both are completely fine ways to play, right? If we had a perfect closed bot, I suspect it would, my guess is it would have matching as slightly higher value, but by no real margin. That's my guess. Might be completely mistaken. All right. Turdz goes 3. And so you can see he has set up some combo potential, right? If Deli goes 1 flipping stuff, 1, I think Deli has 1 in a way that flips 4. But now flipping 4 could be kind of dangerous, because Turdz can flip that back. Now, maybe you just win there, right? If Deli has a good card for 9, unless Turdz can play 7, comboing 4 but not flipping 8. So let's say, I don't know, what's a card we can put in Deli's hand that has the same number up and down? I don't know this level. Let's say he has like 4949. Is that a card that exists? Who knows? Not me. Or like, let's say like 3A39. That seems like a real card. Or 3938. One of those is real. No, there's A393. I think there's a side-to-side one of those. Something like that. Some like 3838, 3938, something like that. If Deli plays that in 1 and he has a card for 9, the Turdz can also combo from 9 himself. Yeah, so this is an interesting way to go at it. So if you have the 3A39 for 1, you could also, if you have another card for 9, you could just go in 9, right? And then if Turdz plays 1, it's 5/5. You go 7, you don't end up flipping 4, so you tie. But it's pretty scary for Turdz to play 1 there, because like anything with any up power is going to take 4. So if you have the 3A39, I think I'd go 9 here. And if you can take 6 from 9. And he probably can, because he played 6, right? So if you can do that and you have a card like that, even though it gives Turdz a tie if he goes 1, it's really scary to go 1. And if he goes 7, you just win, right? You just combo enough stuff that you win. Now, depending on how the game is programmed, that could be true or not, right? Because 393A and 1 overpowers 2 and combos 4, and the combo chain from 4 goes 4, 5, 2, 3. So it only flips 3 if it does the combo chain before it does overpowers in the way this is programmed. So you can play triple triad versions where this won't win and others where it will win. I believe TTA is programmed what I consider properly, which is combo chains happen first. But I'm actually not 100% sure now. Oh, what happened? So Deli won. All right, so we can figure this out. I think, yeah, Deli went 1. Turdz had to take the combo in 7 or 9, but little did he know Deli had both 7 and 9 with 9, 7, 1, 9, so there wasn't a way out there. And yeah, if you have both 7 and 9 with the same card, which Deli did, and I was not expecting, um, then it's just over. No, how can that be the case? No, that's not what happened, because then these cards wouldn't be these colors. So Deli started in 9, and now he had a much better card than 393A, right? He did go the square I wanted him to go. He went 9, because if Turdz blocks 1, Deli does win in 7 with 7973, and if Turdz goes 7, so it was just over. Deli had incredibly good sweepers there, and Turdz was right to be scared. Notice that 6299 set up 7973 to have 3. Yeah, Deli just had this really well aligned at the end. I think this also speaks to how dangerous the plus is. Like, I think the plus is just very dangerous to go into. And one of the worries about, like, after Deli has played A7, 4, 4, and 5, maybe Turdz had to, and it did set up a nice plus in 7, but it is really scary, to me at least, to play A5, 6, 5, and 4, because I have additional evidence that my opponent has combo play in 1 above and beyond the usual. I don't have, like, an alternate suggestion or anything, but this is why I hate playing lines, and I really like how Deli played this. He left a lot of combo potential, but he knew A854 and 9719 were a really, really good pair here, and I think he played it out perfectly. Yeah. So, nicely played. Deli wins game 1, or game 3, but it's the first win of the match. It is a best of 3. They're going to be playing open-close the whole way. And yeah, that's where we're at. Sorry if you heard my phone ringing.